Same format as last week. We've got duplicative meetings going on today, and we've got an appropriations meeting that's going to overlap here. So we're going to run this meeting in an expeditious fashion if we can, with respect to everyone that has shown up to speak today. So if we could, Brother West, Representative Cantrell, if you would, open us in prayer.
All right, let's pray together. Lord, thanks for the opportunity to be together this afternoon. Give us wisdom as we deliberate and help us to see clearly what the best direction is for our state. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Representative Cantrell. All right, I'd like to call this meeting of the Small Business Development Committee to order, and we're going to start off with a presentation. Ladies, if you would, come to the podium. I would ask that you would introduce yourself, tell who you're with, and then we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much, Chairman and Representatives. We really appreciate you being interested in small business development. I'm Grace Fricks, and I am the founder and CEO of an organization called ACE, which is Access to Capital for Entrepreneurs. This is Sandy Headley.
Hi, Sandy Headley, Vice President with ACE, and I've been with Grace for 10 years. I'm retired from SunTrust Bank.
Since we don't have a whole lot of time, we're going to cut straight to it and just tell you what we are is we're a revolving loan fund that helps small businesses, and in particular, underserved markets. So that means low and moderate income business owners of color, and my favorite, women. We have 3 offices. One was, are you smiling because I would say that? Of course I say that. 3 offices. I actually founded it. So I founded it in the back of my house, it's a classic small business story. Between the washer and the dryer with a grant of $50,000 from the federal government for the Appalachian Regional Commission. So that means I live in Lumpkin County near Dahlonega, and that was $37 million worth of loans ago. So we're not in my house anymore, obviously. We have an office in Cleveland, Georgia, which is still the headquarters, and it has got the back office staff. Because we're lenders, that means accountants, CPAs, loan processors, those type of staff. Then our office is in Norcross, which has all bilingual Spanish staff who are lenders and a women's business center. And then about 2 blocks from here, the Flatiron, which is in downtown Atlanta. Why do we do this? The truth is because we can. We made a choice. Instead of being a bank, instead of being a finance company, we wanted to be a not-for-profit organization so that we could put the mission of growing small businesses in Georgia first and profit second, because we don't have to maximize profit. So Sandy is going to go over, can I have the green thing? The green. This right here is in front of you, and you can go through all of it yourself. We do want to draw your attention to a few things as you look on the right, which is a graph. This is our 2016 data. On the left are great pictures of our clients. On the left still, behind that are 2 of our partners. One is in Albany, Georgia, and one is in Savannah. Both of those, neither one could come today, but both of them agreed they'd love to present to you, so that you could find out more about what we do. I'm going to leave you with one acronym before Sandy goes over this data quickly with you. This is something you'll hear, and it's really important, or I wouldn't waste your time. It is CDFI. That's Community Development Financial Institution. There are not very many of them in Georgia. And it means that we are certified, and so are those 2 other programs. We're certified by the Treasury Department for a particular type of lending, and that means helping underserved businesses grow. Sandy?
Thank you so much for letting us speak today. If you could look at this sheet real quick, and we'll just touch some highlights on here so you have a pretty good idea of what we looked like for 2016. You'll see in that chart on the top right from 2008, and you'll see our trajectory heading upward, and you can see a little bit of dip during part of the recession, but you'll also notice quite a bit of a jump. When the recession came, Grace, as our leader, made a decision that we weren't going to draw back like banks were. We were going to move forward. And if it took us down, it took us down, but we were going to be there for small businesses. And that's the best move I think we've ever made. Like she said, now we've done $37 million since inception. We made our first loan in July of 2000. And if you'll look over to the pie chart on the bottom left, like
significant things about the pie chart, and I was just talking with Representative Kendrick about this because she has helped us. Our original name was Appalachian Community Enterprises. That's ACE. And Appalachian, for those of you who don't know, I mean, it denotes white poverty. And that is our roots. It was still ACE, and so when we moved into the Atlanta market, we kept the ACE and changed it to Access to Capital for Entrepreneurs. So if you look at our total portfolio, you will see, that there's white, brown, black, women, men. I mean, it's all diverse. This shift over to African American is a very intentional move we made. Which, I mean, it just goes to show that it doesn't have to be complex. If you go where people are, provide loan officers or staff that do business advisory, that make people feel comfortable and understand their culture, and then have the support of organizations that are in, like in this case, Atlanta, that you can do what you set out to do. And like any small business, even though we're a nonprofit, we have that same mentality of entrepreneurs. Whatever the need is, whatever the demand is, big difference, we move to that. And so if there's anything that we can do to help you, please let us know.
one thing I wanted to say real quick that I think is important to know is that we don't just make loans. We provide business advisory services to these customers to help them to be sustainable. We're there with them the whole entire way. We actually do financial counseling ourselves, and then we have partners set up if they need website help, accounting, extensive accounting, branding, anything like that. We have a whole network of how we help them. So we're their one-stop shop, and that's what we believe is the success. And one last thing I'll tell you, on this sheet here, this is some of our customers, which we're always so proud of. So I'll just point out one right here on the far right in the middle. He came to us and wanted to start a restaurant indicator, and you guys might be familiar with it if you know the area. It's the Pinewood. Yes, and he started out very small, and then he kept calling saying, you know what, I have another idea. He's a serial entrepreneur, and I said, okay, well, when are you going to bring one to me we can do something with? Let's make it happen. He is now the Mercury in Ponce City Market, along with the Pinewood. So pretty exciting. And I know we don't have any more time, so.
Well, thank you, ladies, very much for a couple of things. One, for taking time out of your busy schedule and serving the business community in Georgia to come and present to this committee. I want to thank you for your commitment to helping small business and entrepreneurship and shifting from what I hear you saying to where the demand and the need is. Trying to literally be flexible and fit as Georgia grows. A couple things I noticed, and we'll take questions from the committee for you in just a moment. But you used the word retained in your bullet points. 913 jobs created or retained. I think that's one thing I want us to get in our mind and be a foundation of this committee, is that job creation is vital, but retention of existing jobs and the expansion are the backbone. So, the average employees, if you look, committee, right under that point, the average employees per client, 9. Again, if you remember one of the points I brought up last week's meeting, 76% of our small businesses in Georgia are 10 or fewer employees. So I appreciate your commitment, and we've got a couple of questions, ladies, if you don't mind entertaining them. Representative Tarvin.
Yeah, very quickly, thank you, ladies, for delivering this. And I too noticed the retain. That's something I don't think we've ever done enough to keep the people that have kept us going. Savannah, Cleveland, and Atlanta, correct?
Well, yes, but
Okay.
like our program serves 68 counties.
But, and again, of course, being from old North Georgia Mountain Boys, 8% of the loans are rural and 92 are, my question would be, you don't have that much people that know about you in rural areas, not that much demand, just not many entrepreneurs, or what would be the reason for that?
Those figures are 2016. If you look at the total portfolio, which is about 15 million right now, a third of it is going to be rural. That's what the total portfolio is. However, I will tell you, serving rural Georgia is hard. I mean, and those of us that live there, I live there. Hard. And I can say that because I live there.
All right. Thank you. We got Representative Bruce.
Yes, ladies, I appreciate your presentation, and I just want to know, can you hang around until this meeting is over so we can talk some more?
Sure.
And then secondly, how does your interest rate compare to the banks
Let me take that.
on the loans that you make?
So on our, what are micro loans, which you know is micro loans, 50,000 and below, they range anywhere from 8 to 10%. But we currently have a grant from the Tory Burch Foundation to buy down the interest rate by 2% on any female entrepreneur. Awesome concept. The loans over 50,000 range anywhere from 7 to 9%, depending on the structure. And just so you know, our rates are not as strong, as good as a bank rate, but we aren't a bank and we don't compete with banks. We complement banks and work with them, so.
Thank you, Representative Bruce. Ladies, again, thank you. I'm sorry
you so
for us to
much.
be in a rush today, but I
It's all right.
do respect and appreciate your time and your attendance here.
We
Thank
get
you for
it.
putting this folder together. I know the
Sure.
committee members will take it back and study it, know it inside and out, memorize your phone numbers and share it back in their district. So
That's right. I'll be looking to hear from all of them tomorrow.
we thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, committee, we're going to move on to business right here. We've got Representative Rathlisberger here to present and take questions on House Bill 87. We're going to move right into it. Representative, you ready? All right, it's yours, buddy.
Well, thank you, Chairman, for allowing me to bring this bill before you for a hearing today. I began work on this bill during the off-session time. I took input from various business owners, and I also reached out to the Secretary of State's office, who's worked with me on this, and I believe that they would give you a favorable position on this bill. My intended purpose is to ease the burden on business owners, and it would also be a change that would be implemented by the Secretary of State's office. It does have the support, I believe, of the Secretary of State's office. I saw him last night, but you need to confirm that. And I think that this is a change that could be effectively managed by the Secretary of State's office. The current annual business registration and renewal process requires the expenditure of company manpower resources that it really is a cost to the company. They either have to have their employees do that, or the business owner has to take time from his day that's already probably stretched to do his annual filings. Many entrepreneurs, small business owners, are, as one of the previous speakers just said, are serial entrepreneurs, have multiple corporations. So the purpose of doing a multi-year is that you would sign up for 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year, and allow that flexibility as you may want to do as a business owner. I don't believe that our current program is as effective as it can be, and I think that multi-year would just be another improvement on the process. It does require more governmental resources than a multi-year renewal process, and I believe that the multi-year process would provide a more efficient process for government operations over a period of time. From fiscal year 2010 to fiscal year 16, we have averaged 515,000 annual renewals. So if every business were renewed for just 2 years, we could cut the number of transactions in half. That's a huge reduction for both business owners and the Secretary of State office. If you look at the private free market business sector in industries such as domain name registration, they allow web hosting for multi-year. So it's really taking that same concept. I figure if Network Solutions or GoDaddy can have multi-year renewals, it would seem appropriate that multi-year corporation renewals would make sense as well. I think that this is another thing. We lay out the welcome mat for businesses. I think I can't keep up with it. We've been the #1 place to do business for how many years now, Mr. Chairman? 4 years. And so if this helps us make number 5, I would be proud to be able to help contribute to that. So this bill reduces the burden of having to renew corporations every year. And it really caters to the convenience of business owners. And I think when we can help business owners, I think that's a good thing. In the detail of the bill, what you will notice, for example, on line 11, it says the Secretary of State may provide. The reason it says may provide is that I worked with the Secretary of State, and he was concerned that if I'd said shall and made it emphatic, that if this bill went into effect in June 30th, which is the final signing day for this bill if it goes through, that he was concerned that his computer system couldn't get done in time with next year's renewal. So we allowed him to have that organization and administrative flexibility so that he'll get it done as soon as he could, but that's the purpose that it's may and it's not a command to be shall. I believe that this business can save time and hassle, and I would appreciate your favorable consideration on this. For you to open to answer any questions.
Thank you, Representative. I thought Christmas was over. We do have a few questions. Let's start with number 23.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a couple years ago, I sat on a committee where they changed it from 1 year to 2 years and set out a fee structure. Is it 2 years now that they can renew up to?
We typically get our notices every 1 year, and I don't believe that it's 2 years.
Okay, well, it went through the committee. It may not have gone
And
through
it
the
didn't
whole.
go through.
I didn't follow that specific bill. So it's currently 1 year.
Best of
And
my
we're
knowledge,
talking about
yes, ma'am.
changing it up to 3 years. Okay, thank you.
Number 10.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So how many questions am I allowed? Because I have 7.
Let's limit them to 1. In all seriousness,
Okay.
we have a bunch of questions, and we do need to be out of here for other committee meetings in a minute. So let's try to limit to 1 per committee meeting.
Okay, I'll ask the question I was told to ask, which is, which of these fees are going to be remitted to the treasury either in whole or in part?
The money is still going to the state of Georgia.
Okay.
But the advantage, there may be an advantage. If everyone signs up for 2 or 3 years, they're going to be paying 2 or 3 times that fee. So there could be actually an influx of revenue there. And entrepreneurs being what they are, I have about several corporations. We may not make it to year 3, and that'll just be a windfall for the state.
Can I have a follow-up question to that?
Yes, you may.
The GoDaddy model, though, is it decreases the amount the more of years that you set it up with. So you're saying it's 3 times the amount.
Yeah.
So what is the advantage? I mean,
uh,
besides saving on labor.
At the present time this year, I wasn't going to move forward with discounts. If this moves forward and we get the system up, we will come back in a year or 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. Number 2.
I guess I almost have a follow-up with Darshawn, making sure I understand. So right now, it's the annual registration.
Yes.
And if it's corporation, I think it's like 100 or something like that. So with the multi-year, you're saying this meaning they allowed a multi-year up to 3 years.
Right.
So if I was a business and I decided I want to do the 2 years, and I'd be paying the 200 in advance for the 2 years. That's what I'm trying to get an understanding of.
Well, currently Representative, for profit corporations, it's $50.
Okay.
Nonprofits is $30, and a foreign LLP would be $25. So that's the current fee structure. So let's say you had a for-profit corporation at $50. If you wanted to do 2 years, it would be $100. 3 years, $150.
Okay. All right. That's what I was trying to get understand. Thank you.
See here. Number 8.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a question about, I guess, the foreign LLPs that would be included in this. So say, what happens if in that 3 years that registrant, their address, their information changes? Would they then just by the goodwill come back and fix that information? How does this address people being able to access information about those foreign holders in that time?
That's a very good question, and that's one of the questions that the Secretary of State and I worked on. They were concerned, and they thought that also people in the legal profession would be concerned that people do move, and so that they will send out a notice just to say, has your address changed? And so you would have a little box to check, just so that if nothing's changed, there won't be action that will have to be done. But if your address does change, then you would have to notify. Similar to when you move with a driver's license, that same concept. And that's something that he can handle with the way this bill is written from the administrative, the backside.
Okay, maybe just to follow up quickly.
Yes, that'll be fine.
And so for the purpose of perhaps a lawsuit, perhaps someone is not really interested in giving up that information. And in that time span, say the statute of limitations has it's in a shorter period of time than 3 years. How are we going to address, here today that we want to make sure that people are able to actually get that information? I hear you saying that, administratively that could be taken care of, but I'm curious if there's a way to do it in here as well.
It's a good question. So if you're served papers, there's usually a registered agent that's on file. I guess that could be the business owner also that's moved. I don't have an answer for you on that today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. And we can do a follow-up with that, and Representative Brad I'm sure will get you an answer to your question on that. Let me catch these other 2 real quick, okay? We're running short of time. Number 1.
My question actually is quite somewhat similar, because my concern, if we're doing multi-year registration, how is that going to be monitored, managed? Let's say you have Ponzi schemes set up. There are a lot of things that could happen. People setting up fake corporations. How would that be managed or policed, for lack of a better word, if we're doing multi-year?
Thank you for the question. I don't know if that really would matter. If it's a Ponzi scheme, it's a Ponzi scheme, whether it's 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year. And so I think we'd still have the same issue today with the 1 year registration.
Yeah, I think same enforcement would apply today. Yeah. Thank you for the question, Representative. Number 16.
Thank you, Chairman. Representative, I just had some questions for clarification. Would this bill give small business owners the flexibility to choose how often they register, or is it the Secretary of State per industry or that gets to choose who or where that flexibility exists.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. The intention is that the small business owner decides if he wants to do 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year. So if you don't mind doing your corporation every year, then you'll do that. If you like to, you're just not one for paperwork, computer work, then you might do the 3 year. But it'll be the corporate owner that makes that decision.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Rathensberger. A lot of good questions from the committee, and today I think I expressed that we will not take a vote on this bill today. A lot of conversation, a lot of good questions. I think you've jotted down a few, and Representative Rathensberger, Blake has written down some of the questions up here. If you want to get with him and make sure we navigate through those properly and get them back to the committee members that have concerns.
Yes.
And we'll reconvene next week and try to finish up debate on this bill, okay?
Thank you for your time.
Any closing comments from anybody on the committee? We're going to try to adjourn if none. Seeing no questions, we're going to adjourn. I'm sorry, Representative Stovall. All that? Did you have something you want to say?
No, I was just gonna
Okay.
ask a question.
If we could, for the sake of time and getting other committees, if you could get with those two and y'all try to come to a resolve on that.
Okay.
All right, at this time, we're adjourned. Thank you.